This is the 136th episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the second week of May 2013. This episode is titled Abandonment Issues. CloudFocus Weekly is sponsored by Arkus, your cloud computing experts. I'm your host, Jason Atwood, and joining me is co-host Justin Edelstein. That was my recovery for almost saying my name wrong.
That was
how'd that happen? How'd that go
was
for
like
you?
70s broadcaster, high pitch, low pitch.
So awesome.
Voice inflection just going everywhere.
It's a Friday podcast.
It's a happy Friday.
Yeah, just busy. So
it's a good Friday.
We can admit to people that sometimes the podcast on the priority of things to do is pretty low, but we seem to have managed to squeeze it in there anyway. So it's tough on these days when it is a low priority, when we're like sandwiched between two events that it needs to get done. So, but that doesn't mean it won't be great. It still might be great.
Might be.
I guarantee it might be great.
Guarantee you there may be a chance.
I guarantee
that it could possibly.
I guarantee there's
okay.
a percentage chance that it could be average. All right. Well, this average agenda today is...
This agenda is average, actually.
Full of... not much. Not much in the world's happening. I went in my Twitter feed. I was like, what did I tweet this week? I went back. I looked at, like, cloud news. I went to some of our providers, like Read Write Web Cloud. Like, what's happening? And it was nothing. Now, maybe I missed something. I even tweeted out to people saying, hey, is there something we should be talking about? No one responded. So clearly...
Did this podcast just end?
This podcast just ends. And see you next week. Enjoy those cloudy days. So we're going to... I mean, we have the blog post. We have a little shout out for the MVP office hours. We'll talk about what it is and how it's happening. And then we have really one article that I think is good enough to break into a little bit of a fun talk about the article's titled What Happens When the Cloud Abandons You. The article's okay, but I think really a talk about cloud providers and how to make sure you can what happens to them if they go away, and we've gone through a couple examples, so I think just break that into a conversation, and then heck, we'll get into our CloudFocus app pick of the week. But let's start off with your blog post. Can't really talk about it a lot because we kind of almost did it the whole thing last.
Kind of did the whole thing in the last podcast.
We can talk about my blog post for next week, but
let's save it because then
it.
We're doing the same thing. Right. Let's learn from our transgressions.
So last week we talked a lot. If you missed the episode 135, we talked a lot about Summer 13 and all the goodness that's coming in it. Really broke down a lot of our favorites, which was inspired by your now ongoing almost 100% you series 3 times a year. I consider them the easiest blog posts to write. So, but the Summer 13 Rapid Reaction, or it's Release Notes Rapid Reaction.
Correct.
Blog post, which is now up on blog.arkusinc.com, which covers some of the big ones that you picked out and want to talk about.
Yeah, they're not always big. They're just like my favorites. So if I was only doing the big ones, then I would only do the big ones. This one happened to include a few of the big ones, but also had some small little items that were just sort of tossed in there that are near and dear to my heart, or I just feel is something that needs to be mentioned as part of a blog post.
Totally understand. And I would...
Do you understand?
I do understand. I actually was talking...
Are you hearing the words that are coming out of my mouth?
I was talking to a client today, and they were talking about the release notes, and he was someone who's going to maintain and become the administrator of Salesforce, and I was sort of giving them we do this a lot in our training. We'll train 1 or 2 people on sort of admin 101. And so I really was going through, it was really supposed to be about data loading, but we were going through sort of big picture things like trust.salesforce.com, like system notifications, because he had noticed when he logged in, he's like, do they do a lot of notifications, upgrades? And I said, not really, but they tell you, and here's where they tell you. And then I said, but here's something that you should be paying attention to if you are a Salesforce administrator, which is the release notes. That then brought us to blog.arkusinc.com, where I then self-promoted our own blog to our client.
Do it. I was at a client's office earlier in this week, and they were asking me if they could do something. What were they? Oh, they wanted like dynamic page layouts. So like I choose this value in a drop down or in a pick list, and then this section shows up. But if I chose this value, then this section shows up.
I think out of our hundreds of clients, I've heard that for about 100 of them.
Yeah, so
it's very common.
I used the old, here's the idea exchange, and let me find that idea that has about 50,000 points. And here, you should give this to, when you've got a bunch of users, send this link around and have them vote on the idea. And it even had a comment on it from this year from a PM, so it made it easier for me to explain. Like, look, they are actually
they're
even
listening.
in the thing, it's like, we're considering this. We just have a few things we have to do before we can get to it. And
right,
SayFiber this,
SayFiber
that. I do feel like that one's gonna come at some point.
I think I saw it. And now it's hard because, again, I signed so many NDAs and whatever. I feel like in some presentation in the future, somewhere they've said this is a thing that might happen. But I might have just dreamed that. I also get confused on what I see and what I really believe and what I vote on a lot. And I'm like, isn't that coming? Isn't that coming?
Like
and then
opportunity splits being in the summer release.
If you
I saw that 3 years ago on the stage.
You could have bet me a lot of money and said, "Is opportunity splits in Salesforce?" I'd be like, "Yeah, I don't use it, but it's in Salesforce."
Same with me. Someone asked me about it almost a year ago. Opportunity splits. I'm like, yeah, because I know I saw it on a stage at least I believe 3 years ago in New York at a CloudForce or at some event in New York, and I could have sworn it was just there, and it was a pilot.
Right.
Forever. And then it was no longer a pilot, and now it's just being released.
Now it's live. Or it's coming in the next. Also, side note on the summer release, I went to look because when I started way back when in Salesforce, they had, back when they had 4 releases a year, but way back when you had 3 or 4 pods or 2 pods, it would literally happen the same weekend. I went and looked.
No, they split them now.
Have you seen how many weekends
weekends is it?
It was like 5 weeks.
Last I saw it was 2.
Oh no. You should take a look. It's only across many places.
Certain features don't go. Right? Like, some features are available immediately. Others you have to wait a little while.
I didn't see that in this release notes. I didn't see any that were not coming in the release.
But they do have the 5-minute release now.
Well, that is cool. I actually, when I was showing the client, I went and looked, and I said, look at the time that they're doing. And they're doing it Friday nights. So it was 9 o'clock to 9:05. And I was like, yeah.
Really?
On a Friday night.
9 o'clock p.m.?
Yeah.
Pacific? So midnight.
Oh, right. It was probably Pacific, so it was midnight Eastern.
East. I mean, wherever. I mean, they're so global at this point. It's what time are you going to choose?
5 minutes.
May as well do it at noon, right?
So cool. So anyway, go to blog.arkusinc.com, read up on the rapid reactions. Let us know what your favorite features are.
Yeah, do some commenting. Someone, it's got retweeted and comments there on Twitter, and I got a big hooray for mentioning the approval process deployment in the change sets.
Yes.
That's a big one. I love that.
It's a big one.
I just love that. I never could understand why I could deploy a workflow rule, but I can't deploy an approval process. It made no sense to me.
I'm sure it's just something architecturally that was tough behind
obviously.
it. Well, not obviously. Maybe they just didn't want to do it. They wanted to piss you off, Justin.
No,
so many times.
It was not directed at me.
It was.
Because there were things that when change sets originally came out were not included and then got added over time. But approval processes not being able to be deployed, I just never understood it. There was nothing to me that... Sure, there's a lot of components to an approval process, particularly a multi-step one. And you have to make sure that all the users that are being assigned, or all the queues and all the email templates and all the conditions that, in a pick list value, these conditions are being met, that everything needs to be there. But I don't see how that's all that different than pushing 23 workflow rules at one time.
I think it's because it's on top of those 23 workflow rules. It has all the stuff. Again, it obviously just more complicated. Glad they're doing it because approval processes are the things that they're hard to build, and they're not hard, but they're timely. It's a lot of going through and adding and whatever. So to get it right in the sandbox
and to test them takes time. So you want to build them, test them, and then deploy them. Right. Not build them, test them, build them, retest them.
Right, retest them.
Yeah.
Speaking of testing. Has nothing to do with testing.
Oh.
I just want to throw it out there. They've been asking us as MVPs.
Who is they?
They, the MVP community.
They?
They.
Just a vague.
I'm
they.
not
I'm not
calling names out. No, because I might get in trouble.
Okay.
But I just want to let people know, if you're a listener to podcasts, this might be something you want to know about, that the MVP community does something called MVP office hours. I think it's noon Eastern.
It's, today, Friday, it is 9:30 Pacific, so that's 12:30 Eastern. Right. So as we're recording this.
So you're not going to make this one, but I keep on the lookout for them, because they are sort of a Twitter meetup. You can tweet questions,
and you can join a Ready Talk, where it's an actual conference call, I believe, where you can basically engage with certain MVPs and ask them questions.
Right.
You can go over answers from the Answers community if you have any. You can also tweet. There are a few hashtags. Hashtag MVPOH is MVP Office Hours.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the one I would use, not AskForce or Salesforce, because those are generic and used for other things. But if you're specifically looking for the MVP Office Hours, hash MVPOH, and you'll find links and things that a lot of people have. A lot of the MVPs in the community have tweeted over the last couple days to get the word out. So if you're following me, or if you're following Jason, I've tweeted it. I'm sure you've tweeted it.
Yep.
Many others have also tweeted. I've seen the same tweet a bunch of times in my feed. Yeah. But it's definitely just a good place to go, and it's kind of like when you're at Dreamforce and you go to the Answers Live sessions.
Yes,
a lot like that.
So anyway, just throw it out there so it's known to the community. Again, bring your questions. I know a lot of people ask admin questions, but bring your questions.
It's meant for advanced administrators. So bring your advanced administrator questions.
Can't break my basic administrator questions?
I guess you could.
What's a lead?
Sure. It's an orange tab.
Why am I here? No.
Don't get into philosophy.
Yeah. Why can't I do many what?
Many who's?
No, I can do many who's. Can't do many what's.
Many whys?
All right, let's kick into our main piece, meaty part of this. Again, starting from a blog post on Rewrite Web, posted last month, 4/22, called "What Happens When the Cloud Abandons You." Really talking about.
Do you have abandonment issues?
I basically have abandonment issues. One of the things we talked about with cloud computing, and this is, true of Salesforce and others, is that, there's this barrier to entry that's very low, meaning that if I want to sign up for a Salesforce license, I can literally bring out a credit card, go in, sign up, get going. I can do that. Dropbox, Evernote, Google Apps. I mean, it's just the power of getting in is very easy, and it's supposed to be that way. And subscription, so you pay as you go. I pay monthly, pay quarterly, pay whatever. In fact, this, I think, brought up, maybe it came about or has popped in my head, is because Adobe has now gone, their whole thing is all subscription-based. All of their apps are moving to subscription-based. So Adobe's not going anywhere anytime soon. But really brings up the question of, well, what happens when the service that you're paying for, that your contract is only for 6 months or month to month, part of the downside of that, that's not Microsoft. We talked about Microsoft and how, when you bought Windows XP in whatever year, they literally told you, we will support you, and they do support you for a long time. I remember being at
They'll support you well beyond when they tell you they will support you,
right,
if you pay them to support you.
But that's part of their thing.
Right.
On the other hand, since the cloud is everybody's on the same current version in theory, and that it's sort of a month to month, your commitment to them is less. Their commitment to you is almost less, meaning that they come and go. Cloud services pop up, they get fun, they get whatever, they get bought out, people shut them down. We had a client 2 years ago came to us, and they had been using this cloud service to do their database system, and they literally got a notice a month and a half. We're shutting this down. We've been bought by Twitter. We're shutting it down. Here's the date. I think it was like March something. We're shutting it down. Turning it off. No more.
Shut it down.
Yeah. So great. You might have been paying for it, but they don't care. They'll give you back your $29.95 or whatever, and off you go. So I think it brings the question of, what should you be doing proactively and reactively when you're thinking about using a cloud computing vendor? I think we discussed this almost 2 years ago, so it might be good. What should you be thinking about? What should you be doing? What are best practices? What are ways to consider, the process? And I'll go as far as to bring this to a Salesforce thing. App Exchange vendors, right? There's a whole thing about, great, this App Exchange. But that doesn't mean that we've complained about this. You can't tell when the last release was. You don't know how well that supported is. You don't know. Yeah, they might take your money, but that doesn't mean that they've been around, that they're using newer technology. We were looking at one the other day, I will not name names, it was all based on S controls, wasn't it? You said it was based on S controls. That's an unsupported technology at this point, or very lightly supported, or mostly not supported. That's scary. And if you're using that thing, they don't update it, eventually it will stop working. So, thoughts on...
Thoughts and opinions. Thanks for throwing that big topic in my lap.
Give me one thing you should think about when...
Well, I always think of SLAs. I guess that doesn't necessarily apply.
Welcome to 1982.
Yeah, well, still, it doesn't really apply in the world of, I guess you can't really ask somebody, are you going to be around in 2 years? I mean, you can ask them, and they're going to say yes, but it doesn't mean they will. So when you're signing your agreement and your contract, you're going to want to look at some of those types of support features where they say, yes, I don't know what the service level agreement for Salesforce is, but they have, I don't even know, but we use it. But, you can ask them, your account executive, for any number of pieces of documentation around, security and compliance, and, they're a publicly traded company, so you can get all their financials and this, that, and the other. So you can certainly look into those, that aspect of the company. Same goes with Google, but Google tends to kill off things more at will than Salesforce.
Yeah, I mean, I love to disagree with you, so this is actually making me a little bit better.
Disagree with me.
I think that's absolutely one of the last things I would do, because it means nothing. Because they could write whatever they want in that agreement. Reality is no one reads it. Reality, it's not. And what it probably says somewhere in that agreement is, this agreement is totally null and void if we say so, A, or B, if we get bought. And so I think that's maybe, if you want to get on the legal side, I'd go for the SLA. I'm thinking more of when I look at a technology, a cloud computing technology, and I made the example of Evernote, how I tested it for like 2 years before I decided to use it as my main note thing, is that, A, how big is it to you? Like, is this taking over is this a one user who's using something like, and I don't think Conga's going anywhere, but let's say one user is using Conga Composer to do one piece of your process, and if it were to fail or to go away, what would the impact to your company be? Versus something like Salesforce, you have your entire organization based in Salesforce, what would the impact of a feature or a piece of it going away? Perfect example, maybe you built out an incredible sales process that was bringing you in millions of dollars that was based on the presentation builder.
Ooh.
Right? So the SLA said, we can bring and take features whenever we want, right? I'm sure there are people out there who built a sales process around that and probably built it, meaning not just like, it's a sales guy and I put together some slides, but like you have these decks, you get to send them out. That is part of the actual sales process. And when it decided to go away, they went, oops, what are we going to do now, right? So to me, it's evaluating how big it is to your sales process. That'd be first. And then the other thing I think of is, what's your way out? What's your backup plan? So one of the reasons, an example of using cloud technology, it's personal, but one of the things I won't do with Evernote is put a lot of PDFs in it. Why? Because you can't get them out. There's no feature to go in and go, select all, export. They're all stuffed into tiny little folders all over your system. Fine for their architecture. But if I want to get out PDFs in 4 years, when Evernote gets bought by Microsoft or IBM or decides to just go out of business, I want to be able to get them out and easily. If they're sitting in a file folder somewhere in Dropbox, copy, paste, or quick drag, from onto my Drobo, and I'm done. So I think this is something that I think Salesforce actually excels at. As someone who just shut down a Salesforce, account. I had a one-person account. I literally just did a full export of everything, the last one, and I felt very confident that I had all the data was in there. If I ever need to get to it again, it's well formatted, it's well described. I could move it from there to somewhere else. Or if in 2 years I want to start that Salesforce back up again, I could start with what I just exported. So I think your ability to get things in and out in a common denominator way, right? It's not something that's proprietary in the way that they allow you to do it. What's the connection standards? The ability, again, teaching this person on data loader, how can you get things in and out, and is it simple, and is it well documented? To me, that's where I would look first and foremost for any one of these things where you're going to put data into them or build them into your process, is how can you replace it? Thanks for joining us on CloudFocus Weekly.
Yeah. Fantastic. I would still, all that being said, I mean, if you're making an enterprise level decision, I would still not be like very flippant about the contracts or language in a contract. If you're a two-person shop who's gonna forever and always be a two-person shop, that's very different than, a 20,000 license agreement, So you should also take that into account as well.
And I would also say track record.
Yeah. So does this company have a 20,000 seat?
I was going to say a feature track record. What's their, if you went back and looked at their history of what they do with their product, are they a company? I'll use another example. Omni Group, big fan, makes a couple products I really love. Their track record, if you look back, and I don't know, I know how to find this information, but they're very slow, very methodical, very slow to change, but what they do and what they put out and what they support, they do it well. They don't put a new version out every 5 months, right? Some people put out, it's version 2.0, then it's 3.0, then it's 4.0, and you're like, oh, really? I didn't know we were even beyond this. They're very slow, very methodical, and when they make changes, they might make big changes, but they're over a period of years. So you can trust the software because they make those decisions, and their track record of being in business for 15 years is very good at not abandoning things. Like they abandoned their OmniWeb, their browser. Still, you can get it. They still sort of semi-support it. About 5 years after they should have abandoned. I mean, they were nice. They kept putting a patch release here way after anybody ever wanted to use OmniWeb, and because Chrome and Safari were out and whatever.
I remember OmniWeb.
OmniWeb was really good at the time. It was incredibly forward-thinking browser built on OS X platform. So the track record of the company. So not only historically, financially, but like what have they done to the product? I would say Google is a good example of a bad track record.
Bad track record.
Their track record is they will indiscriminately, although they'll tell you their reasons, but they don't back them up. Like it's not like they say, we didn't have the adoption we wanted. Well, maybe your adoption and what I want, they don't match. So they have a bad track record of basically changing and moving things whenever they want. And if you don't like it, that's sort of tough.
That's also part of, what you would consider the core of a company's offering. So Google has a bad track record with sort of edge outline type of things. I don't think
they have a bad track record with their own highly important products.
I don't know about the Gmail's not going anywhere.
They have changed Gmail and Drive and
change
Docs.
Is different than completely remove.
Well, remove, but change is important too. I mean, they learned after 10 years to actually allow you to opt in on a slower scale into their changes. But that was after many, many customers got very upset with them because it was literally like, change is coming, boom, new interface. And your 500 users just log in the next day and like, what's going on? Like, they were not good at it. Salesforce, again, showing them as the good side, they're very good at telling you what's coming and sometimes telling you that it's coming and it doesn't come. But they're SayFiber, but they're very, very good at giving you advance notice, advance preview, tons of documentation, and for the most part, the ability to sort of semi back out of it if you need to. Meaning, I can't do that, so I need to. They'll either give you the way to turn it back on or back off or something like that.
Like Chatter.
Well, even Chatter. Chatter, you can still enable or disable Chatter. That'll go away eventually, my guess.
Well, there are still people on the old user interface.
Right.
Which I don't understand, but that's for another
But
day.
again, so I would say Salesforce's track record for, supporting old stuff that they built and that someone's using and they keep it, tags, and then B, of having telling you what's coming is very good. other these sort of cloud vendors. And again, it's surprising that Google is so bad at it. I'll say Apple's bad at it. Apple's not very good at their cloud services.
They're pretty bad with...
They gave everybody a year.
Yeah, but they had all sorts of things that were connected to MobileMe that were like, all right, now these go away. I had this website that I've been running for however long, and now it goes away. I had these web photo albums that go away.
They gave you a year to make that change, which is different than...
Do they offer web pages anymore?
But there's a kabillion places out there that you could have migrated to.
Sure.
3 kabillion.
5
kabillion places.
Is that a thing, a denomination?
It is.
Kabillion?
It's like a million, but with a kaba in front of it. So to me, again, I'd love it. If there's a resource out there that someone is... This would be a great resource. A cloud computing, or maybe a software vendor sort of tracking history to show when they release things, what features they've killed off, and sort of a history to say, Microsoft is doing this now with some of their products. They're renaming them and killing them off and moving them off to different places. What's their track record? The other thing is, what's their track record for buying things? Smaller companies that are looking to be bought, I would trust them less. If they look like they want to be bought, then the reality is that someone buys them, that SLA goes away with that company. You signed it with blah, blah, blah company, Inc. As soon as they get bought, your SLA goes down the tubers.
Yeah.
And doesn't matter what you signed or what, it's gone. So, seeing their long-term vision, again, hard to really know, but you can look at someone like Dropbox who's has not been acquired many times. They've said we don't want to be.
Right.
Evernote, I feel like, is one that they're kind of on the edge. They could be acquired at any time. Salesforce, we know, is a public company, so it'd be hard to be acquired.
Though possible.
Possible, very hard at this point. It'd be hard to do a takeover. They'd have to do something pretty massive. Anyway, so those are the things I would think about.
I would add to that, if you're a 10-person, 12-person company, and you're using a service and they tell you that you are their biggest client, that's something to also be
you might be a redneck if.
Yeah, just know, I was touching on it before, what's their sort of customer base look like? Do they have 100-person seats? Do they have, if they're offering a freemium level of service, how many people are paying for it, that kind of thing. You almost want to dig into the business model and decide, are they making money or are they going to go under because everyone's just using the free version of this thing?
What's their business model? What are they trying to accomplish? What is their ultimate outcome? And then what's their history of doing it? Again, I think that's why I'm hoping on the app change they add. I would like to see the releases. Show me every release that this company, because even as us with our free products, if you saw how many releases we do, you see we are consistent. Whatever it is, 3 times a year, we're consistently putting updates to that
including
product.
patches.
Yeah, in patches. Yeah. But that shows that we still
supporting
skin in the game, right? And if you could look back over 2 years and see that, you'd go, oh, I feel more comfortable now, right? So definitely things. Again, I don't think the data is really available in one little nice place, but it's stuff that I would look into more and more before I would make choices on the cloud, which is, again, different than if you buy software to download and install it, because you kind of own it at that point.
Right.
The other thing is also, obviously looking at stuff like open source. I'm a big proponent of open source. Our website runs on an open source software, which has the pros and the cons. But the pro is, at the end of the day, the code, you can do it. The code's out there, right? You go compile it yourself. So if the foundation were to stop running it, or if, whatever, it's kind of, you can go ahead and do it yourself. And, hire a guy and you'll never run out of support.
Or a lady.
Or a person.
A person.
A person. Most likely a person.
Or a dog. Whoever.
Pretty
whatever.
much. Can I just non-PC this entire episode? Sorry. All right. So, it's good. Good little riff. I have a topic.
Good thing you have it now.
For an upcoming
Good
podcast.
Thing it popped into that brain now.
No. Before this, I was going to do it, but I didn't give you enough warning, and you always,
You didn't give me any warning for anything.
Well, whatever. I'm saying for our next one, one of the things that's been kind of popping up, and I've tweeted a couple things. Merlin Mann talked about it on Back to Work. is
I can't listen to Back to Work.
just-
Sorry, Merlin.
just skip to 35. Just skip to it.
I feel like I might miss something.
No. You will. I can. How about this? I will tell you exactly when to skip to.
All right.
Because there's one point,
You
and then
can get me to the point where Merlin gets to Merlin mode,
Yeah.
and not Merlin crazy mode.
yeah,
That's where I want to be.
yeah. I totally get it. And the first half an hour is
It's
again,
a complete waste of time.
either
That's one-way commute. That is all wasted.
either completely enjoyable by some people when they just riff about comic books, or it is a complete waste of time. Whatever.
Most of the time, a waste of time.
Yeah, I think when
Mostly
they
wasting
they
time.
make the same jokes about is this the show? Is this what people listen to? Is this the show? It's like
Yeah.
no, that's a waste of time.
Yeah,
'Cause
I'd rather not listen to this show. Thank you for
anyway,
asking.
don't care. We're not promoting his podcast. What I'm
That's
saying,
right, I'm not.
what I'm saying is that
Is this us not promoting his podcast?
yes, do not go to 5x5 and listen to Back to Work. But he did riff about and then pointed to a talk he did about meetings. And we run a company. We have a meeting culture. I was talking
I feel
to
like I've seen this video.
a potential maybe.
Is it new or is it like 3 or 4 years
It's older, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen this video.
But it's an interesting topic. We now run a company. We have a meeting culture. We have a culture where what we believe in meetings and best practices. And I thought maybe that would be something that would be fun to riff on. To
Yeah,
do one of our
let's riff
special,
on that.
A special session.
Special session, meetings,
meetings.
no chairs.
There you go. Stand-up meetings. Everybody drinks a big thing of water 5 minutes before going in. Speaking of meetings, tell me about your pick of the week.
Has nothing to do with meetings.
Yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't. All right, I'm going back because I don't think either of us have picked an App Exchange product in a while.
I have picked the Permissioner every single week.
No, you haven't. I wish you have.
No.
So I am picking a product called Crowd Guide.
It looks like you misspelled it, but you didn't.
I did not.
Okay.
But maybe I did. But I did.
Cloud? Is
No.
it Cloud Guide?
No, I
It is
didn't.
actually.
I misspelled it in one
Okay.
place and not the other.
Okay.
Because I was spelling it like cloud, but it's Crowd Guide.
I was right twice. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
you're always right.
All
All right. So basically, what this is it's a little sidebar component that goes into the left-hand navigation panel of Salesforce,
Okay.
and it works off of it's like context-sensitive help. So when you are on the Accounts tab, it shows you in this little sidebar component the help for accounts. If you are on the Contacts tab or on a contact record, it shows you the help for contacts. If you're on a custom object, it will show you the help for that custom object. It basically allows you to fill in a record, or there is an object that you create records in, and it's a drop down that says what object are you creating help for? Creating help for account.
Right.
And then it has a rich text area field where you can put in whatever you'd like. So you put in, your text and images and whatever else you want. And then basically when you click on the link, it brings you to whatever you put in the rich text area. So I think this is great because it's really like in context, right?
That's
it has
nice.
a label with the nice name. It has what object it's for, and then what the actual help is. So if you have a very specific process that you're doing with opportunities, and you really need to explain the different record types, or you need to explain why there are certain fields, like how our stages work or something.
Right.
You can have the opportunity stage help, and then when they click the link, when they're on the opportunity page, it can show this stage means this stage means this,
Okay.
this stage means this.
Nice.
It's up to you. You write it.
So definitely
how to do list views, right?
Right.
How to do a good opportunity list view, right? Because it works on the tab as well. So
Right.
here's a good example of how to create a good opportunity list view. Show me all my prospecting opportunities where the last activity is, older than whatever date, right?
I just thought of a product we saw a while ago. Sergeant Star.
Oh, yeah. Remember Sergeant Star?
Sergeant Star. Another
Our
conversation.
pricing model is we will charge you 4% of all the money that you save.
From using our product.
So basically, by our calculations, that's $27 million a year.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it's
Anyway.
great. But yeah, this is context sensitive. So
What's
the pricing is it's $15 per month per org.
Okay.
Unless you're a nonprofit. In that case, it's 10.
So I like org pricing.
Me
I think
too.
More people
org
need
pricing
to,
is great.
If we were to
This
make the
product doesn't work per user because that would be silly.
right, but this is like if we were gonna make the permissioner, if we're gonna charge for it, we would definitely per org. Right.
Absolutely, it makes for these types of tools. It absolutely makes sense. So this app's by Train the Crowd, and SP Keezy, so both.
Okay.
And
nice.
I really like it. I think it's pretty neat. I've already
Did you use this for a client?
I've got 2 clients looking at it right now.
All right, cool.
Because they are having some adoption issues, and I feel like this is a really good tool for adoption because it really just throws that. And the key with it is the contextual nature of it.
Because you can override some of the help settings. Obviously, you can do in standard Salesforce. You can do the help hovers. That's one. You can override standard help.
The standard help with Visual Force pages, which we've done for clients. But this is really just very simple. Administrator, go and create some records in a custom object.
You know what the hardest part of this is? Writing the help.
Yeah, I mean that is, but it's not. At least it's not sitting out in like a Google site, or sitting on a flat PDF.
It'd be cool if you
or
could
a
reference
document
Google Docs in your help.
Well, you can because it's just a rich text field. You just put a link in there.
No, but I mean, if it like pull, you could reference it so that it would pull it in line.
I've got a little. I'm gonna give a little inside SayFiber thing. I've talked to the developer of it. Whom we know from the New York City Developer User Group, and he is planning in his next release
SayFiber
on supporting YouTube videos, and record types. So if you're on a specific record type of a record, it would show different contextual help for another record type, which is really nice. So keep going because I think this is a great app. It's got some good reviews, a few reviews because it's fairly new. Check it out. It's just released in April.
All right. I've got 2 picks. I'm going to make one pick very quick because it's
2
easy.
Picks?
I have 2 picks.
You just gave me the wind it up, I gotta go, so that you can make 2 picks?
Exactly. That's what our audience wants.
I can't believe you just did that.
Because the first pick is just easy and obvious and awesome, and the second pick is just fun. So I'm going to make my CFGPW.
What is that?
That's my CloudFocus game pick of the week. It's awesome.
What's the game?
No. I want to talk about the first one first. First one first is just obvious. So the makers of Vmedio, the makers of Instagas.
Good luck with that one.
One of our picks a billion times over.
I think it made our top 10 picks of all time.
They have come out.
Am I right about that?
He's going to go look at our chart, our infographic, and he's gone, and he's coming back. And it didn't.
Surprisingly, it didn't.
It might have been after it.
It's impossible that it was after.
No, it's not. That was last July. That was last July. Yeah, it's totally possible. It's been in the last.
Yes, it's possible.
9
that
months.
was 100 episodes.
All right, here's my rounding it up thing again. So Instagas is made Instagas for the Mac.
Ooh.
So you can download. It's in beta. It's at VMedio.com.
Vmedio.
It's going to be about $15. Download it. Ooh. It will then sync. So syncs back and forth. So if you want to just
have you played with it yet?
I have. I've been playing with it.
What's the is it a like straight up Mac application or is it like an Air application? What is it?
Oh, it's a Mac application.
It's an OS X app.
Works great. The syncing,
like the Twitter app, like it looks like that.
Yep,
okay.
Yep. And for sometimes when you want to listen to something or you want to, but the nice thing is that it all syncs together. The syncing's gonna get better, but it's like podcasts in iTunes and podcasts on your iOS that the Apple don't sync.
Why?
Because they're stupid. They don't do
Apple,
it.
So you got iCloud. Do it.
So that's my pick. That's my first pick.
So $0 now.
$0 now.
But gonna charge you later.
Yes.
Can I get it in the App Store, or do I have to go to their website?
Well, you can't get betas in the App Store. So it's on the website.
Will it eventually, hopefully, be in the App Store, so I can just pay for it there and have the upgrades just happen?
Maybe. I don't know. That would be their plan. But whatever. It's for beta now. Try it out. Again, when you start it up, it then brings down all of your subscriptions.
Probably better for video than it is for audio.
Well, it's video or audio. Think of like you're at your Mac and you want to listen to that podcast. You're like, oh, I have to go find my device that I have it on. It's like, oh, it's right here in front of me, and
or
it's
just
downloaded.
Go to the website and click on it.
Yeah, but I don't even know the website for half.
Really, I've done that many times.
No, I don't know. All right, the second one, my CFG PW, is
Can't
a game
believe you're doing this.
That's hit the waves.
Oh, is this a hot
It's
game?
been a hot game.
Is like
yeah.
Zynga gonna buy them tomorrow and
No.
then they're gonna go away?
So here's the funny thing: it's developed by Ellen DeGeneres.
Really?
Yes.
Well, she didn't develop it.
Well, she came
put
up
her
with the
name on
idea.
it.
She came up with the idea.
So she
All right.
says.
So what
What was that sound?
That was me starting up the game.
Oh.
So I'm going to just play the game with you for 2 seconds.
Okay.
It's very obvious, right? So I'm going to pick a category. Right?
I don't like all these sounds. Whoa.
Right.
Oh, man. This is
So go ahead. So there's a thing up on my forehead. Go. Try to describe it to me.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a pop star. You have to tell me what it is.
I don't know who he is.
All right. Pass.
Pass. Correct.
I
Plays the piano.
Billy Joel.
Jazz pianist. Has done some acting.
Oh, give me better than that.
Has a suffix at the end of his name.
Junior.
That's right. Keep going.
Keep more.
I don't know how to keep
right,
going.
pass.
That was Harry Connick Jr.
Oh, yeah. Give me another one.
Just opened a restaurant down the street from us. Got terrible reviews. Has the show on the Food Network about diners and drive-ins and dives.
I don't know.
Guy Fieri.
Oh, all right. Anyway.
I think I did good on that one.
All right. So
And Harry Connick Jr. wasn't terrible.
So the game is, I only have a couple minutes now. The game is called Heads Up. It was developed by Ellen DeGeneres. I mean, again, she came up with the idea. There's actually a video that when you start it up, she shows you how to play it in a video. Like she plays it with.
Yeah.
The idea is you put it up. You start it up. You have categories. You put it up to your forehead.
Right.
Right, and the person across from you can see what you're listening. It actually videotapes the person who's doing it.
No. So you have video of me now
So I have
doing
video
that?
of you, yeah.
Oh, we'll have to post that
And
somewhere.
then basically, as you try to describe it to me, and it does a timing, and then it goes through, and if you're right, I go down,
Right.
and it goes to the next
you went the
one.
wrong way
Yeah,
the
I
first
forgot.
one. I didn't even know who that guy was.
And then the other one, you go up if you want to pass, and then it gives you a score at the end.
You know what that's like? That's like in Inglourious Bastards, where they're in the bar in the basement.
Exactly.
But in that game, you asked me questions.
Right, about you.
Right.
Anyway, it's called Heads Up, 99 cents. It's a great
Fun.
bar, fun.
Might have to get that one.
Yeah, it's fun. Now, it comes with like 5 categories, and then there's a freemium, like you can buy more categories for 99 cents.
What was
more.
that? Like the pop star category or
There's
something?
like it comes with 5. That was the pop star. It's fun.
Guy Fieri's barely a pop star.
We were playing with it. The wife and I were playing with it the other day. It was just we're at a bar. We were just like, oh, let's just play, and we had a fun time. So I was like, I have to say this out there. It's called Heads Up. It's on the app. It's on the iOS
on the App
platform.
Exchange somewhere?
No, not on the App Exchange. Anyway, all right. So that's it. That's my pick of the week. My CloudFocus game pick of the week. Next week, I think I have a Salesforce pick, a App Exchange pick, and my game pick is going to be a different one. So. Tell me if you like the game picks. All right, so that's it. Go to blog.arkusinc.com. Go to facebook.com/arkusinc or twitter.com/arkusinc. Justin's at Just Edelstein. I'm at Jason M. Atwood on the Twitter. We're in the Google+. We are also in the Dreamforce portal. You still have a group there. You can still subscribe there. We're on the LinkedIn. We're all over the place. Leave us wonderful reviews on iTunes, if you will, please, or tell us where else you can leave us reviews, and we will plug that. Until next week, where we're going to be trying to do one from the road again.
Are we really?
We're going to try.
From the road?
From the road.
That road?
It's going to be a crazy road. Might be fun to do it from the place that we're going to do it and looking out at with the thing. It's going to be fun.
That could be fun.
It could be fun.
We should probably do it at like 4 in the morning.
Okay, whatever. So we'll try to do I have a little bit of vacation next week, celebrating a little anniversary. And so we'll be back hopefully next week. We will bring our portables. Until then, as we always say, enjoy those cloudy days.